Nasza Łódź. Miasto wielkich szans. Od 600 lat w sercu Polski i Europy.
Jesteśmy Polakami. Jesteśmy niezwykłym społeczeństwem. Zawsze w obliczu wielkiego wyzwania potrafimy się mobilizować. Potrafimy stawić czoła wielkim wyzwaniom. Bo nie potrafimy stać obojętnie. Bo obchodzi nas bezpieczeństwo i przyszłość naszych dzieci. Bo wierzymy, że nadzieja zwycięża apatię, lęk i strach. Bo mimo wszelkich przeciwności nigdy się nie poddajemy. Potrafimy ciężko pracować, wspierać się i działać razem. Bo zależy nam na naszej ojczyźnie, naszym osiedlu, naszej ulicy. Bo chcemy naszych niezbywalnych praw i wolności. Bo nie oddamy naszych marzeń. Nadchodzi punkt zwrotny.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is not only an honor, but also a great joy to welcome you during the 10th Freedom Games, to welcome you here in EC1 in Łódź, and all of you watching us online. You can watch us on our websites and our partners' websites. I'm Olga Brzezińska, and I will have the honor and privilege to assist you through this fascinating and inspiring adventure we have prepared for you. The Freedom Games is an interdisciplinary creative agora, a place of deep intellectual deliberation, discussion on the vital issues, and the meeting point of people representing various areas of public life. The topic of this year's Freedom Game is Turning Point, a special moment when our future is going to be determined, the future of the humankind and the planet. We would like to send a powerful message that we're at the point which is pivotal for our life and development, that we deserve and we can afford a better future. The place where we are today is the symbol of renewal. This is the place which used to experience its turning point, the power plant of Łódź, and now EC1, which is the center of culture, open space which is hospitable and offers inspiring meetings. 3 days of discussions about the most important challenges and best solutions ahead of us. The agenda of the Freedom Games extends the reflection on our social and political condition. The next 3 days here in Łódź will focus on the debate of the future. 7 stages, 120 meetings with the participation of over 600 guests. We are very happy to have you with us, and we wish that after the 3 days we leave this place wiser, with new perspective, more interested in the world and in one another. Let us feel inspired before another turning point on the 15th of October. And now I've got the honor to invite 2 distinguished guests. The first meeting will be with the presence of the representative of Ukrainian nation suffering from unjustified aggression of Russia, a distinguished Ukrainian poet and writer, Oksana Zabuzhko. Weronika Gogola will be the host of this meeting. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our meeting is going to focus on the latest book by Oksana Zabuzhko, The Longest Journey. The story of this book is amazing because it was created during the promotion of the previous book, quite unexpectedly. It is written with great power, and this is like the last attempt to explain to the Western Europe why we shouldn't be afraid of Russia, which is non-typical for us in Western Europe, but the Ukrainians are the nation not afraid of Russians. This is also an attempt to explain the Ukrainians' place in Europe. When we last met, it was 2018. We met in Slovakia, and you were a woman with a suitcase, and nothing has changed. You were traveling to Switzerland. You've been traveling throughout Western Europe for many years, and you try to explain to the Europe, to the people, what Russia stands for and what Ukraine stands for. Your book starts with an ironic comment that yet again you need to go to Poland and explain everything from scratch. You keep on explaining things, but we hear it over and over again, but the knowledge seems not to reach us. Now I'm asking about the moment when the war broke out in Ukraine. You were then in Warsaw promoting your book. Has anything changed throughout the year? The floor is yours. Thank you very much for this question. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We met in Slovakia some time ago, as you have mentioned, but it has been the second time I've been visiting the Freedom Games. The previous time was 5 years ago, 2017, 2018, in a different location. So I would like to congratulate to this new great location. It looks really stylish. I love places which are post-industrial, renewed, serving the future. This is the sign that the city has been renewing and growing. For me, as a person from Ukraine, who came here from the country where, due to obvious reasons, since 24th of February last year, the topic of renewal, renovation, reconstruction of Zaporizhia, Bakhmut, Kharkiv, Mariupol, and other cities ruined by the Russians. This is the topic which is dear to my heart. I feel high-spirited in these walls because it offers some hope for us that we will renew as a country one day. So thank you very much for this hope. I would like to congratulate on the location to the Freedom Games, and thank you for the hope. I have already started answering your question. Well, before the 24th of February last year, I had not been a woman with a suitcase. I was and have been a writer. We should speak openly, who of us before the 24th of February 2022 in Western Europe had been interested with Ukrainian literature a lot. There were 3-5 writers whose books were translated into Western European languages. Kurkov, Zabuzhko, Żadan, Andruchowicz. And again, the same names, all over again, the same 4 names, which have been reverberated in various combinations. Then, when your book is published, you go to present it to people in other countries. Then you have to explain everything, give interviews, and answer questions concerning your country. This turns out to be a side effect of an international career for a writer in this part of Europe. After the 24th of February last year, because the book we're talking about starts with an explanation that I was unlucky or lucky. Well, I am a lucky person because that I always find myself in a kind of historical turmoil. This is a kind of luck for a writer. Journalists tend to envy this in my situation. My previous Polish book, which was a collection of essays, was published in Poland on the 23rd of February. That's why I arrived in Warsaw for 3 days, and I was woken up by a ring in the hotel and the telephone from my home. I talked about it a lot and I wrote about it, that somebody called me from home and said, "Honey, it has started. The bombing has started." Since then, I have been explaining things and answering questions. The questions that were asked as the core of this book. The book was written on commission. That was the first book written on commission. It was an Italian publisher. I called my agent after the 24th of February. She said that I should explain what we missed in Europe, what we missed in Italy, in the cultural context. What have we missed? She wanted me to include it in 100,000 characters. I answered it was not possible because it was not about the period of 8 years. Initially, the West including Poland, was supposed to understand that the war did not start on the 24th of February, but it started in 2014. And it did not stop throughout the period of 8 years. That was the period of Ukrainian-Russian war. The Europe had a vision that it was a local frozen conflict. But that was actually the issue of the Western European approach. All these countries of the former Soviet Union, why these countries shouldn't reunite. Putin's propaganda was supported by the period of the previous 20 years of intensive work with public opinion in Europe. The war was very well prepared from the information point of view. The war was well prepared, but you said we should come back to the 18th century. Russia had been preparing for manipulating the West from the very beginning. Yes, indeed. You pointed out a very important aspect, that Russia as a concept has been a facade from the very beginning. They used to steal the best from the countries they had been conquering, and they turned it into their own history. The most drastic example is Kyiv, Russia. I remember from Polish manuals from school that it was the cradle of Russia. Let us stop here talking about language. We talk about Russian pierogi, which are not Russian. This is the period when they were called Ruthenians, and it lasted until the 21st century. No, we are no longer Ruthenians, we are Ukrainians. And pierogi survived. Now it turns out that for an innocent Polish person, Polish ear, we should know that pierogi is not the Russian dish. They are Ukrainians. They are Ukrainian, but the word dates back to the time when it was Russian and from Moscow. Because the Moscow Empire was called Rossiya, and Rus in Greek, Rusin or the Ruthenian, it was only the name used since 1721. Previously it was Moscow. And perhaps it will be like that one day again. Right, the concept of the great and small Russia was imposed. For many Western intellectuals, it has been functioning ever since. You can see it in the responses to the Ukrainian war and the problem of nomenclature. Right, we are coming back here to the issue of our Ukrainian responsibility, meaning the responsibility of our ancestors who, as a matter of fact, invented the empire at the end of the 16th and beginning of the 17th century. The whole idea of the empire with the cradle in Kiev, it was like a spiritual beginning in Kiev. We are considered the second Jerusalem and the center of Eastern Christian religion. And the new military capital is somewhere in the north, in Moscow, Petersburg, which is more international. It is like a melting pot. Bringing people from different countries to build the empire. As a matter of fact, it seemed to be multicultural. It was like an attempt to create a multicultural empire. All these archaic bullshit that today Putin expresses in the quasi-historic statements about the Holy Ruthenia, Kerieps, whatever this word means and how to translate it from Russian. So sorry to say that, but it was all taken from intellectuals from Kiev in the 17th century, from Teofan Prokopovich. These were the people who had the idea of the Great Russia and the Lesser Russia, which was like the spiritual center, and the Greater Russia, which was full of colonies.
And this Russian mir comes from the Hellenistic word. It's from the Greek language, from the Greek Christianity, Greek Orthodox religion. So the idea that it was us here in Kiev provided the spirit to this huge empire that we follow north, and we teach these wild Moscow people how to pray, read, write. I would like to ask you about one thing. Did it happen that they went there and then the Moscow people sent their people to Ukraine? No, Moscow people had no one to send to Ukraine in the 17th or 18th century because there were no schools. The first higher school in the Russia was the Moscow University, which was opened at the end of the 18th century. And in this university, most of the professors and students were people coming back from this lesser Russia, from Kiev, because Kiev had the Kyiv Academy. Before, we also had the Ostrovska Academy. So we had the high schools, we had university schools. At the time, of course, we needed secularization, and we had schools, and it was us who sent our reformers who were like missionaries. In the north. So they were bringing civilization and innovation, and of course they brought the Christianity. So this reform was originated in Kiev. Maybe we shouldn't be proud of it right now, but it explains why Putin nowadays is saying these archaic things, because in the meantime there was nothing new invented in Russia to justify the development of the empire. This empire cannot be modernized, because after the 300 years we can say that the empire simply cannot be modernized. So now they need they get back to Kiev to finish the appropriation which in the 18th century provided the Moscow Empire with the European face. It was our face, it was Kiev, Ukrainian face. Without this, this cannot be legitimate. So there is only violence which is maintained by different nationalities, and in the fact there is only the gulag, imprisonment, there's the tradition of violence, of war, and Putin really needs Prokopovich, although he doesn't use the names, but he needs our people to continue to pretend that he's the president of the European country, but it's only facade, and it's revealed, everybody knows, and it was revealed when they came to kill Ukrainians, to kill the cradle, their cradle, the cradle of this facade, the cradle of this so-called European empire. So this explains, you have mentioned that we are not afraid of Russia. We are not afraid because we know Russia at its core. And it's like bluffing. It's the bluff of this great country, great nation and empire, the empire that cannot be modernized, which is very archaic, that can be dissolved. It has to collapse. There were two attempts already in the previous century. In 1917, after the World War II, there was an attempt, and this empire was not strong. So another bluff was invented, another international movement based on the leftist ideologies of the 19th century, and it was inspiring. People believed in the Soviet alliance. People believed that it will free them, and it will mean affluence to the working class. So then there was another bluff, there was another attempt of modernizing the empire, and the empire collapsed. Chechnya wants to be independent. Tartarians announced that they are independent nations, and the republics are not even mentioned. I'm afraid that our time is up. We went back into the history. It's very important. We have just started our discussion, so it's not about what was happening 5 years ago. We need to look at the history of Ukraine and Russia We need to start with the 18th century to be able to understand that from the very beginning it was a bluff. And the history of Poland is also important because there was this need by our 17th century intellectuals. It really all started with Warsaw. The Hadiat Union came too late, and the noblemen, Orthodox noblemen, were not recognized by the Republic of Poland as the equal country. So it resulted in the search for some alternatives. Search for some alliances with the white people we were trying to civilize, but also we wanted to show to the Poles that we could do this. And who was the winner? Well, we had no time to talk about Jesuits and Basilian issues. We have no time. So now the 300 period is coming to the end, and we need to understand it's important that it's not about any local conflicts. This cycle of 300 years is coming to the end, and now there is this opportunity for all of us in this part of Europe to fix things that were broken by our ancestors. But we need to listen to good advisors, that is Ukrainians, because they are resistant to the bluffs and they understand Russia. So we need to read books by you, and we need to read books by Ukrainian authors because you understand Russia. You know, you are experts. And also I have this hope that we have to stop being focused on Russia. We should appreciate these societies that were fighting for the freedom. Slava Ukraine!